back to another episode of Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. Today, I want to talk about insanity and the patterns of behavior that keep me feeling trapped. So, we often hear the phrase insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And this is a concept that came up a lot when I first entered recovery, and especially reflecting on what I did when I was actively drinking. Specifically, the insanity part is what I would do once I started to begin to sober up during my active alcoholism, what I would do during that time to get more alcohol. So it's one thing what we do when we're drunk, but it's another thing that when we're sobering up, what we do. You know, that's insanity. And so one of the aspects I want to explore is the obsession that consumed me during the depths of my addiction. And then what similarities am I drawing today to my stroke recovery? So this is interesting. So the 12 steps, which I was talking a little bit about yesterday, in many ways work like a crowbar, like prying open the door to being honest with myself and honest with others. And alcoholism, when I was actively drinking, was like a crowbar that was trying to fit me into normal life with other people, but it just wasn't working. And so lately, I'm considering this question about why do I continue to do things that cause me to suffer? As I look back at my journey, I remember watching others and feeling like I'd never be like them. You know, like everything felt overwhelming, and it seemed like everything I did just made things worse in my life because I didn't see that drinking was the main problem. I was looking at everything else except for the drinking because I was like, I'll quit doing anything, but I'm never going to quit drinking. I remember saying that out loud, actually. I was trapped in a cycle of self-destructive behavior. My behavioral patterns reinforced my emotional patterns, my mental, my sickness, mental sickness, while my emotions then reinforced my behavior. It was just this cycle. So one vivid memory came to me today, and I think of this probably once a month. It's really a terrible memory for me because it feels insane. When I think back to what in the world I was thinking, I it appears as though I was insane in my memory. So I had just gone out for the night with some friends in a town, like I was out of town, and we drank, and somehow I ended up back at my house by myself the next morning. I woke up, I was in my bed, and I had no car. So I had like little spot memories of being in a taxi. I remember being in my friend's car, and I slightly remember getting in the taxi because I was afraid she was going to drive or something like that. But it's very spotty, the memory. But what I remember is in the morning, having no car and having no alcohol in the house. So I think it was about 6 o'clock, and I got dressed and started running across the neighborhood. So it was like 2 miles across the neighborhood to the convenience store where I could get alcohol. And for some reason, I was running, and I was just falling down. I just remember running at like 6 in the morning. It was freezing outside, and I just kept falling down. I can't imagine what somebody thought if they were looking out of their window in the morning. Um, so you can imagine, like, I don't remember what I was thinking, other than I remember being desperate to get alcohol. And so that compulsion was so strong that it felt like insanity. And it was a force that kept me doing things that I knew were hurting me. In my stroke recovery, I've encountered a different form of insanity. I know what hurts my head, right? I know digital devices hurt my head. Yet I do it anyway. It's this feeling of being stuck in a cycle again, wondering why I repeatedly engage in a behavior that I know isn't good for me. Why do I do this to myself? So I just keep going back to this comparison between the two, because that's what I have been doing, is drawing these parallels between my um, my sobriety, getting sober, what it felt like before I was sober, and this stroke recovery. And I remember the first few days in detox, the first time I went to detox, when I needed a walker. So I had to be on a walker for like 3 days, I think. Um, and and yet when I got out of that facility, within a couple months, I was drinking again. Um, that's insanity. Was it lack of self control? Was it a matter of willpower? I'm not a big fan of the word willpower. But the truth is, we knowingly do things that aren't good for us all the time. And we chase instant gratification. And it even overrides concerns about long term consequences. Um, when I was drinking, I did so to escape who I was, even if only temporarily. I wanted to, like, rise up into this new identity just for a fleeting moment, a fleeting evening. I thought I'd deal with the future when the future became the present. In a way, my current struggle in stroke recovery parallels that. I sometimes look at my phone knowing it will cause pain and nausea in the near future. In well, I guess I was going to say in sobriety, or when I was drinking, I didn't see that it was the near future, but it was in the same case. It was the near future. So when I look at my phone, I mean, within a minute, I get sick and nauseous. And I tell myself, though, when I'm looking at my phone, I'll deal with it when the future becomes the present. And it always does. Um, Sometimes I feel worse than other times, and then that will keep me from doing it for longer. It's kind of like when I was drinking, uh if things got really bad, I felt like the need to get I felt like the need to stop drinking was bigger. I still didn't do it, but um so in the throes of alcohol addiction, I actually would experience this feeling of ecstasy, especially with the first drink, with the very first swallow of alcohol. Um, it's like I got a massive dopamine hit, and I vividly recall it. I don't think that's what normal people, normies, I don't like calling it that, but I don't know where that came from, but I've been hearing that a lot lately. But people who are not alcoholics, I don't believe get this profound sense of ecstasy when they have a drink, but I did. And I was willing to sacrifice whatever pain would come in the future to feel that immediate sense of ecstasy. Now, when I look at my phone, obviously it's not quite the same. But what I do feel is a brief connection to the world by being able to look at my phone. And it's something I desperately need is this connection. So I seem to be willing to accept the painful consequences in the near future just because of my need for that connection. It might be more than just connection that I'm looking for. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure, but that was the most obvious to me is wanting to be able to, you know, connect with friends and family. And it's a fundamental part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I've talked about that. It's obvious to me that I'm like working my way through Maslow's hierarchy of needs in a cycle. Like I'm getting to the part where I'm meeting my need for connection with other people. And then that throws me right back down to the very bottom of the pyramid again, where I need to take care of my physical well being. And then it's a cycle, and then I build back up. I take care of everything. I get to the point where I can start looking at connecting with other people, and then boom, I'm in pain again, and I go back down to the bottom of the pyramid. In both drinking and in post stroke recovery, I've sacrificed my future self for instant gratification. As an active alcoholic, I believed, though, that I deserved to suffer. I didn't think that I deserved happiness like other people. My behavioral patterns reinforced what was going on with me emotionally, and it became that cycle of self destructive behavior. My experience now feels almost like the opposite. It's as if I believe I deserve to be happy and live like other people, but I still find myself repeatedly engaging in behaviors that hinder my progress. Is it possible that I'm still in denial? Probably. It's a big deal to be faced with this. All of a sudden, you can't do all of these things. So I feel like, yeah, probably I'm still in denial a bit. Um, could it be that I'm still sacrificing my future self for today's self? Absolutely. Um, this evening, we were getting ready to sit down for dinner, and I got on my computer. I had just been complaining after I got up from my nap that I didn't feel good. Like I felt nauseous. My head felt like it was filled with concrete. And yet I still opened my computer and I was typing something out. And my boyfriend said something to me about it. He's like, you complain that you don't feel well, yet you open the computer. And I know he understands my struggles, just mentally continue. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to not be able to do what I want to do. I'm like a kid. I'm just like a little kid, and I want to do what I want to do, and I want to do it now. Um, but I needed him to say something to me because sometimes I stop giving a shit about myself and I need somebody else to give a shit for a little bit, and give me a break. Give me a break from giving a shit about myself. But anyway, it's good. I'm glad that he feels comfortable saying something to me. And so I got off of the computer and I stopped working on this little project that I wanted to work on. So I believe that there's a simple reason behind my behavior after I've been exploring it today. There's this famous experiment. I think it's called the marshmallow experiment or the marshmallow test, one of the two, where in the 60s there were children who they brought in and a child was offered a marshmallow but could choose to have the marshmallow now or wait 15 minutes and receive two marshmallows instead. So, fast forward, they watched these children for 2 decades. Go figure, the ones that delayed gratification fared better later in life. But the key is that those children who fully believed that they would have a greater reward in the future were the ones that were willing to defer gratification. And that is precisely what I think is happening. Is in my journey, I don't fully believe that I'm going to get better in the future if I delay gratification now. As an alcoholic, there was no delay of gratification whatsoever. I was completely sacrificing my future self because I couldn't envision anything better in the future. I couldn't picture myself any different than the way I was. I couldn't picture being happy, joyous, and free and healthy. I certainly couldn't picture the woman that I am today. What I've learned today is that just like organizations have to have this continuity plan to navigate the health and financial disruptions of their companies, we as individuals should be able also to visualize our future selves. It's about creating a continuity plan that I know that sounds very career oriented, but that's what I am. That helps us move forward even amid challenges and uncertainties. I need to be able to picture my future self today, to understand that the choices that I make today will have a direct impact on who I become tomorrow. That's a lot easier in the areas of my career. It's always been much easier to know, like, yes, if I finish this project, if I do it on time, if I do it really well, I have a chance of getting a promotion, at the end of the year or next year or maybe, and I just can't see that clearly right now. I can't see clearly what positive impact is going to come from me sacrificing immediate gratification today. The only thing that I see is a little bit of pain, that some days it's a lot of pain. Yeah, it is. um, but a lot of days it's a little bit of pain. I say that today because today is a little bit of pain. Yesterday, my eyeballs were like had sharp pains behind them. So I don't know. I'm laughing because I'm just frustrated, right? So if I spent yesterday and the day before feeling sharp pains behind my eyes, then today I don't feel those. So I feel like, oh, okay, take advantage of days that I don't have those sharp pains. And so I end up going on the computer. Um, it's it's hard. And I'm not going to pretend like I have all the answers to my recovery right now, but it's important for me to talk about it, and that's why I'm here. So, I, I recognize that I deserve to be happy, and that's good. That's better than how I used to feel. And I deserve to grow just like anyone else. And I can make choices that support that I deserve to be happy and grow. So, as I explore my journey, and you explore yours, I encourage you to take a moment and visualize your future self. And what choices can you make today that will lead to a brighter tomorrow? That's something that we learn in workshops and stuff like that. But I'm talking about what can you do in a very, very small way today for yourself that will impact your future self. Um, Things like think about eating a Snickers bar. Okay. There's this, it's not ecstasy. I mean, maybe for some people it is. For me, it's not. It tastes really darn good. But not eating that Snickers bar, for me, this is the way I look at it. Not eating that Snickers bar today, in the whole scheme of things in my life, is not going to do a damn thing to inhibit my growth and happiness in my future self. So I eat the Snickers bar. And that is the way I'm feeling right now about going on my computer. I feel like at this point, it's not going to do a thing if I don't do it. Obviously I'm not going on it for more than 15 minutes at a time, probably. That's it. Um, and I feel like it's not really doing anything negative or positive. The positive thing about how I have been slowly improving is because I have not been working 8 hours. Like, because I only go on it for 15 minutes until I start feeling bad, and then I'll close it. And I think my challenge is, should I not go on it at all so that I don't ever feel bad? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I'm not quite sure that any doctor knows because they don't know what's wrong with me yet. So anyway, I'm trying not to beat myself up for all of this, but it is definitely important to talk about it. So I will continue to strive for growth and healing and a future filled with joy and possibility. And I clearly need help. And I'm glad that my boyfriend has been there as my caregiver to step in and tell me when he feels like I'm not putting my recovery first. So, thank you for joining me on this episode of Recovery Daily Podcast. And remember, you are not alone, and I will remember the same thing. So, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.